Welcome everybody to Happy Hour. I'm really excited about this episode today. This is my co-host Alex Moran, and I'm Dory Baker, and we're going to be starting our very first episode of our Taste of Place series.
Excellent.
What a better place to start than Italy? I think one of our favorite wine countries, mutually.
Most definitely. I would say my favorite overall, and there is no better place to start.
There is no better place to start, yeah. So Italy, we'll start off with kind of a little bit general information about Italy.
Sure.
Italy is a very unique country because they grow grapes everywhere. But it's only been a country for about 150 years. So the specific regions basically developed their own wine culture in isolation.
Mm-hmm.
So what you get is unique traditions, unique winemaking practices, and unique grape varietals to each region. And today we're going to talk about Alex's favorite Italian region. Second favorite? First
Piedmont,
favorite?
it depends on the day. Yeah, it's kind of a toss-up, but it's definitely up in that conversation and favorites for sure. So, like Dory said, we're going to be focusing on Piedmont this evening.
Piemonte?
Piedmont, if you're stateside, Piemonte, if you're Italian, or after a whole bottle of Italian wine, it's definitely Piemonte.
Piemonte.
Yeah. So Piedmont, or Piemonte, is located in the northwest corner of Italy, right up here. Really unique geographical location because all along the top here, you have the Alps. The Alps are super tall, always covered in snow, and there's a lot of really cold wind that comes off of them. But right underneath it here in the south, you have the Mediterranean Sea. Always warm, lots of warmth and moisture coming right up. So there's always this kind of tug of war between really cold nights and really warm days. And because of that feature, it actually lends itself to one of the major features of in all the vineyards here is every morning there's a ton of fog, just rolling fog that really covers all of the vines and really protects them. And actually that fog is where one of my favorite grape varietals, Nebbiolo, got its name. Nebbia meaning fog in Italian, and because it does so well in those conditions, they named it after that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And Piemonte is definitely known for Nebbiolo, which is their very big, powerful, expressive wines. But just to give you an idea of the diversity of this particular region, me and Alex are going to name off a few other grapes and see if you see any that we miss, put a comment on the website.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, I'm going to start. Barbera.
Ooh, I'll take an easy one. Nebbiolo.
Dolcetto.
Ooh, let's go with Fresia.
Arnese.
Cortese.
Ooh, Grignolino.
Erbaluce.
Ooh, Timorasso.
Moscato.
Ooh, Bricchetto.
Oh, you took the words right out of my mouth. Well,
Ooh, Bricchetto.
I think you win this time, Dory.
Yeah, I feel like we missed some too.
We might have missed a few. Let's see here. No, we said Fresia.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we got all the ones
good.
that we prepared for at least.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. So today we're going to be highlighting 4 wines from Piemonte. We're going to have a couple different ones, and then we're going to really dial in on our favorite Nebbiolo.
Dun, dun, dun.
But for starters, we're going to start with a white wine, which Piemonte isn't necessarily known for. So we're going to start with a wine made from the grape variety called Arnese. So this is planted in the Roero Hills, and it's been grown there. This is a little bit north of Barolo. It's been grown there since the 15th century, but due to the conditions, it's a very fussy and difficult grape to grow. Doesn't really produce a lot of fruit. So farmers were pulling it up in replacement of, bigger reds that they could sell for a better profit. And it was almost extinct by the 1960s until a couple of Barolo producers kind of reinvigorated this grape and put a lot of focus into it and started putting out some really high quality wines. Because in the right hands, Arnese is beautiful.
It's a gorgeous wine.
So this producer is Damilano, and they're one of the older producers within the Barolo region. It's very common for Barolo producers to make different wines from different varieties. The reason being they could have diversity in their portfolio, like not always have mega huge Nebbiolos. And they could also, have something accessible and ready to drink right away. Nebbiolo takes a long time to age. So it's like this one, they pop it in stainless steel for a few months, it's ready to go.
Perfect. You got to have something to drink.
Exactly.
On the daily.
Exactly. So this is their Longue Arnese. It's 100% stainless steel fermented. And what they really want to do is express its very delicate fruit character. So you're getting a lot of light. Well, actually, you know what? Let's try it.
Let's try it.
Then we'll talk about what it tastes like.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Ooh, yeah. Oh, I see what you mean. No oak influence whatsoever, nice and crisp and fresh because of that stainless steel fermentation and aging. And yeah, you're right, lots of fruity characters. I feel like this one does really well in that climate and the soils that it's grown in. And it just seems to be a little glass of sunshine.
Absolutely. It's very reminiscent of like an unoaked Chardonnay. So if you're a Chardonnay fan, give this varietal a try because I think you would really like it. It has a similar body, similar acidity. I think it would pair well with similar foods to a lighter bodied Chardonnay, like some fish, some chicken dishes, maybe a lighter salad.
Yep.
Very, very easy to drink.
Or any of those alpine cheeses that Piedmont is known
yes.
for. Sorry,
Yeah.
Piemonte.
We'll have to start a cheese show at some point.
Oh man, that's a whole different animal right there. Oh, this is a lovely wine. And Damilano does have, they're steeped in history and they do make a great, great product. So it's really nice to try something different from them, not just their beautiful Barolos.
And their Barolos are killer as well.
Most definitely. And like you mentioned earlier, not a lot of white wine grown in this region. And actually it's about 35% of the production is white wine. So the lion's share is definitely for the reds, which is what they're really known for. So let's try
get into it.
Yeah.
Sounds good. We're not actually dumping the wine on the floor, by the way.
Or are we?
Or are we?
So a lot of you might have heard of Barbera. And if you hadn't heard of Nebbiolo, you've definitely heard of it now. But there's a third grape that is really, really popular in the region and probably the most produced wine for immediate consumption by the farmers there, and that's Dolcetto. Dolcetto is a really wonderful wine because it's expressive and it's really earthy. It has a really beautiful dark fruit character and just enough structure. It's a really good indicator for those growers that do grow their Barolos or their Barbarescos. When they do a Dolcetto, you get a really nice snapshot into their style and their technique of winemaking without having to wait years and years and years for their Nebbiolos to really mature. So, can I pour you a glass, Dory?
Yes, please.
Excellent.
I love Dolcetto. Pretty color.
Beautiful color. So Dolcetto is actually a little bit of a misnomer. Dolcetto means a little sweet one, but there's nothing sweet about this varietal at all. Like I said, it's earthy, really dark fruit, well-structured, which means it has some tannic quality, but not a ton. It's very drinkable young and doesn't need any kind of aging and pairs with a lot of different dishes, especially their tagine, which is an egg yolk pasta that they do, and it's just really
great.
rich and decadent, and a wine like this just kind of cuts through all of that and pairs really nicely. So here we have Il Palazzotto, and this is from Diano de Dolcetto, or sorry, Diano de Alba actually, where they grow just Dolcetto. This one of the only 3 DOCs or specified regions in all of Piedmont where they specifically make Dolcetto. This is a younger winery, 1995, but that doesn't mean that it's started in 1995. The winery and the label did, but they are steeped in tradition. Many generations in this family making wine here in this region and growing the grapes, but they used to just sell it to the co-ops. But in 95, Paolo decided, hey, our quality of grapes is great. Let's just make our own wine.
Sorry, I couldn't wait.
No, please don't wait. Let's make our own wine. So that's why it says 1995. Fully organic and just making a beautiful expression of Dolcetto.
This is stunning. You get a lot of that really like bright, like blue fruit, dark fruit, a lot of berries.
Lots of berries, brambly, like wild berries right off of the bush. And I mean, this is a pleasure to drink.
Yeah.
And I know I said tagine, but this is your perfect pizza wine as
Yeah,
well.
this is definitely I think a good chunk of the Italian reds we could classify as pizza wine. That sounds like an episode.
You don't say.
That sounds like an episode.
That does sound like an episode.
Pizza and Italian wine pairings. Yes, please.
Well, that's wonderful. Should we go on to the main event,
Yes,
if you will?
let's talk about the elephant in the room here. We can't do Piemonte without talking about Nebbiolo. So we've got 2 Nebbiolos that we're going to try side by side.
Oh, I like that idea.
Yeah. So what's interesting about these 2 wines in particular is they're very close in, proximity, but they're very, very different. So we have Barolo and Barbaresco.
Yeah. So, as Dory mentioned, both of these wines are made from 100% Nebbiolo. And the proximity of these 2 villages is less than 10 miles. So in just a few minutes, you can go from the town of Barbaresco to the town of Barolo and drink the exact same grape, but the expressions are totally different.
Very different. And one key feature of Nebbiolo is it's sensitive to the terroir, which meaning like the specific climate and soil types, everything that goes into producing and growing the grape. So it's very sensitive. So when we talk about these two different villages, even though they're very close together, they are completely different. Barbaresco in particular, which is the wine we're going to start with here, tends to be a little bit warmer. It still has the traditional like rolling hills of Piemonte. Tends to be a little bit warmer, a little bit lower elevation. The soil tends to be a little bit more similar. So I don't want to say that the wines are the same per se, but you'll find less single vineyard expressions in Barbaresco. They're also typically aged a little shorter period of time. You're getting a little bit more ripeness of the fruit, so it doesn't need as much oak aging to chill out the tannins.
Gotcha. Because, like Dory said, Nebbiolo is a thin-skinned grape, so it makes a really nice light-bodied red, but it's an extremely powerful, concentrated
Very
wine,
powerful.
so it kind of catches you by surprise. And
It's deceiving.
it is deceiving in
It
the
almost
best way
looks like
possible.
a brickish Pinot Noir.
It's just like Pinot Noir in that thin skin, and
Yeah.
that's why it really showcases that terroir.
You'll find that you get kind of like in most Nebbiolos, you get a little bit of that browning characteristic. And that's because most of them are aged before they're released, but it's also because of the delicate nature of the skins.
Yeah, Nebbiolo loves to get that rusty rim, and it's really high in tannins.
Very. All right, let's give the Barbaresco a try.
Right off the nose, it's unmistakable. Nebbiolo. It's got dried rose characters, it's got a little bit of leatheriness, and a lot of earth qualities coming through.
Yeah, let me tell you a little bit about this Barbaresco, actually. So this is Castello di Nieves, the producer. Kind of a funny story. Italian history, like wine history, really started to explode in the 1950s and 60s. So these people straight up bought a castle that had vines attached to it, and they started making some killer Barbaresco. I don't think you could purchase a castle nowadays for what you could buy it in the 50s.
Yeah, it's probably gone up in price just a little
Yeah,
bit.
definitely. But going back to producers making more than one type of wine, they also make a Dolcetto, they make a Barbera, they make a Granulino, they make a Pinot Nero, Italian for Pinot Noir. That was a new one for the list.
Oh, we missed that one.
Yeah, we did. But this wine is stunning. Classic, like Nebbiolo characteristics, like tar, roses, bright red cherry, just
It's
absolutely beautiful.
Like we mentioned with the Barbaresco, ready to drink a little younger because they're not as structured as their cousins down the road.
It's still got a significant
Barolo.
amount of structure, though.
Most definitely.
That would pair well with a nice, like, ribeye.
Yeah. Now we're getting into our meats and our game
Yes.
and our cured meats and cheeses. So
Yes, more cured meats and cheeses.
yeah. So moving on to the Barolo, one of the major differences here is soil type, where in Barbaresco, the soil lends itself to creating a slightly softer wine. Here, it's a lot of sandstone and iron. So you get a wine that's really structured, really tight when it's young. And Barolos, for that reason, can age for decades in your cellar if aged correctly. Also, with the aging requirements in Barbaresco, it just needs to be aged for 18 months minimum, where here in Barolo, it needs to be aged for 36 months minimum. 2 years in bottle and 2 years in oak and 1 year in bottle.
Yes, that's a long time to be waiting for your wine to be ready.
A long time.
It's worth the wait, though. But
Most
then you got to
definitely.
wait longer if you want it to develop those beautiful tertiary, mushroomy, savory, leathery notes, too. So
But right off the bat, I put my nose in there and you can smell that there's more wood here
Yep,
because it's
definitely.
aged longer in newer wood as well. And let me tell you a little bit about this winery, Renato Ratti. He's kind of a legend in the Barolo region. Barolo proper really started coming into its own around the 50s. And in 1960, Renato Ratti, which is a native of the area, said, there's a lot more going on than just making a wine called Barolo. Let's really pick it apart. And I feel like there's a lot of different vineyard areas here that are really special in and of themselves. So he himself mapped out all of these really specific vineyard areas that we still use today.
love
And
that.
so, yeah, he's kind of the godfather of the cruise system in
and all
Piemonte.
of the crews, if you have an opportunity to taste them side by side, they're all exceptionally different. So it really does give a good sense of place. Oh, taste of place, maybe?
Maybe, you don't say. Well, this is an exceptional wine. Wow, I could just drink that all day. I think I will.
So like even though there's a lot more tannin, because of the wood aging, it's almost a little bit softer than the Barbaresco, I would say, because it spends that much more time in wood.
Yeah,
and
the
that really
wood-
softens it for sure.
Yeah, it helps it out for sure.
It's definitely there though. I can feel it in the backs of my gums.
Yeah,
That's
I
where
can't
you
wait
get all
to
your
try
tannins.
this little number in a few years.
Oh, yeah.
I bet you it'll be
That's gonna be
exceptional.
beautiful.
Nice.
Well, that pretty much wraps it up for our Piemonte presentation. We could probably go on for a lot longer. we barely touched any of the grapes.
I know. Well, let's do a few more episodes on Piemonte. What do you
Yes,
think?
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. Stay tuned for that. Thanks again for joining us today. This is Happy Hour. My friend Alex Moran, and I'm Dory Baker. And you can check out our episodes on newenglandcooks.com. Thank you very much.
See you next time.
Cheers, Alex.
Oh,
Cheers.
cheers.